East London and North London collide.
Teams still winning.
Oh, can you believe it?
Look at the clock. You know, teams still rise to the top.
The most contested London derby.
Bridges burn, tables turn, highs and lows, gotta figure it out.
Blue Tops paper lift. The Gunners run it back again.
Teams still winning, how can I flop?
Neto, hat-trick at Stamford Bridge. Problems upon problems. Wenger and Mourinho are going at it on the touchline. Is that not beautiful goal? Red card for the former Blue.
Teams still winning, how can I flop?
Chelsea fight back.
You know, teams still rise to the top.
Staggering, simply staggering game. Football never ceases to amaze you.
Chelsea against Arsenal.
What a game we have in prospect, and Darren, suddenly a top of the table clash.
Absolutely. And on the one hand, it's hard to call because obviously Chelsea, off the back of a fantastic win over Barcelona, I really didn't expect them to win as emphatically as they did. Very impressive. And the clean sheet, all important as well. That means that's, 4 clean sheets in their last 5 matches. Very impressive for a side that I thought had defensive problems. But Arsenal, I mean, they're the defensive supreme master so far this season. They are so hard to score against, and I actually think this game will be decided by both defences. There's a mistake in the Chelsea one in every game they play, despite the run that they're on at the moment. If you take out Barcelona, the other clean sheets are against an unconvincing Spurs side, Burnley, who are struggling at the bottom of the table, and Wolves as well, who are struggling at the bottom of the table. If you were a striker, and thankfully we have one here, which defence would you worry most about coming up against?
Yeah, I think you make a very Arsenal's, but there is a chink in the armour as well with Gabriel not being there. So even though Hincapie's stepped in and he's been very impressive, there still is a slight weakness.
You'd still see that as if you were preparing to play in this game this weekend, because I thought Hincapie looked really composed and quite good, and also they all defend against Spurs.
Yeah, no, but.
Well, no, Bayern Munich.
They didn't have much attacking prowess.
No, it was Mosquera.
Mosquera against Bayern Munich, yes. So they've got 2 players who can go in against...
When we talk about Arsenal's defence, obviously it's the famous duo that we talk about, and when that's broken, there's got to be a slight weakness and a slight downturn. Even though we've not seen it yet, it's about managing that situation as far as Arsenal are concerned. And listen, for me, this game is set up for a bit of creativity, something special to happen. And I agree with what you say that Chelsea are probably slightly weaker in defence, but then they've got Caicedo in front protecting that space. But I just feel as though this game is set up for a certain man to come on and reintroduce himself to the Premier League. You know which man I'm talking about, don't you?
Palmer.
Yes.
Well, I have a question from a striker's point of view in Chelsea, because they didn't really play with the recognised 9 against Barcelona. We were kind of seeing the team sheet and wondering, well, who's going there? Estevao was excellent, but Pedro Neto through the middle and up top as part of that front 3 with Garnacho, that was quite interesting. Was that something you expected? Is it somehow a place that he could be taking up more regularly now?
It wasn't something I expected, but tactically it made sense because Barcelona play with such a high line. When you're going into this game against Arsenal at the weekend, I think it's a very different profile needed, because someone like Neto, I feel, could be bullied. I think we're seeing that with Richarlison last weekend, didn't we? Richarlison was very lonely at times, and when you are that mantle and you are that kind of foundation to get your team further up the field, ultimately he didn't hold the ball well enough, did he, on Sunday? So I can honestly see Liam Delap playing this game. A bit of physical presence just to kind of release that pressure, because no doubt Arsenal are going to play well and dominate the game at stages. So you need someone to go long to, and for me that man's Delap.
So you think that he's the sort of player, you want him to have his back to goal, take the ball on his chest, keep the ball, retain the, so that if you've got players running off him,
then you can get people out, and because obviously like I said, Arsenal are going to be in the ascendancy at times, and with their creative players they're going to be dominant, they're going to pin you in. And sometimes you just need a release valve. And hopefully for Chelsea, that can be Delap. And when you hold that ball up, then you can get Neto with you, João Pedro with you, or whoever he decides to play. Obviously, you've got options. And when they're going forward, they're really exciting.
Let's talk about the midfield battle, because there is quite an exciting one about to go down here. Moises Caicedo, who was able to be rested against Burnley because obviously he travelled back so late from international duty. He did feature against Barcelona, expecting him to play against Arsenal, and then against Declan Rice as well in that midfield. He was the outstanding player in midweek against Bayern Munich. That is a scintillating battle to look forward to.
It is, and it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal deal with him, because do they try to cancel him out with a Rice or even a Zubimendi, who both of whom are very disciplined in the centre of the park? Or do they say, listen, let them worry about us and play around him, then play down the channels? They've got very accomplished wingers who can score from the wide areas or provide the ammunition from the wide areas. So it does remain to be seen. Given the game is at Stamford Bridge, I would imagine they'll probably look to contain the likes of Caicedo and play around him. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely one man there trying to stop, and like you say, that is a possibility, whether it's Rice or Zubimendi. But him in his part, that last clip there is so special, isn't it? The way he hunts that ball down, and honestly, in those situations, he's so quick and so dominant. For me, he went there with a lot of hype from Brighton, a lot of expectation to step up. Obviously, the price tag came into consideration, and I feel now we're really starting to see the real Moises Caicedo and how good he can be. And I still think there's potential and growth left in him. And I think on those clips as well, we're seeing him getting further forward, and he's more efficient, whereas we know him as that kind of deep line protector.
Yep.
I think he's adding elements to his game as well.
Yeah, well, you mentioned as well. I want to move on to him because Enzo Maresca was speaking about the prospect and likelihood of Cole Palmer and Estevao playing together.
No, they can play together. They can play together. Depends, against which team, depends a little bit the game plan. But for sure, they are excited. The fans, they are excited to watch both together. We also are excited, thinking that at the end, we need always, balance between the two faces.
Yeah, there was a funny moment at Stamford Bridge. Cole Palmer was, obviously, they showed him, he was sitting on the bench there. And then when Cucurella was given player of the match, Palmer was standing pitch side and was like, how did you win this? Because I think a lot of people thought Estevao was the outstanding player. Very, very exciting prospect. And I think exciting for a lot of people that he chose to come to the Premier League. Yeah,
super exciting. Listen, I covered Brazil in the international break as well, and I saw him there, and he is their next big star. There's a lot of hope on his shoulders going into the next World Cup, and that comes from his time at Chelsea, what he produces in the Premier League, and it's there for Carlo Ancelotti to see. And for me, as an ex-forward player, when Maresca's asked that question, I think it could be beautiful watching those two together.
I think it'd be a wow. Well, you schooled me before the show because I was saying to you, look, I don't know if you can start Palmer in a game against Arsenal, formidable Arsenal, after 2 months out. And you told me a really interesting story.
Yes, I did, yeah. So I was recovering from an ACL injury. I've been out for 10 months, and Tony Pulis thought it'd be a really good idea to start me in my first Premier League game against Manchester United. And their partnership at the back then was Vidic and Ferdinand. So it was a rather long afternoon, to be honest.
Get a kick.
Wow, how did that go? How did that go for you?
Well, I try and forget about it, to be honest, Joe.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
I know I didn't score, we didn't win, but I can't remember what score the game was.
But the interesting thing is, I actually agree with Glenn. I think it's a big ask to start Cole Palmer from the start. And I think in English football culture, what we like to do is, if there are really good players, we want to shoehorn them all into the same side. But I think the system that beat Barcelona, and bear in mind, Barcelona's form, fantastic so far this season. They're in a two-horse race with Real Madrid for the Spanish title. The attacking trident of Rafinha and Lewandowski and Lamine Yamal, and Chelsea kept them quiet. Yeah. I think the system they've got so far works, and maybe we could see Palmer in the 65th, 70th minute. He's coming back from injury. You have to be fair to him and not expect too much too soon. Estevao, or Estevao, some people are calling him, he's more than capable of minding the store by himself, I think.
Yeah. Estevao, if anyone forgot that you're a print headline man, there's the proof. It's in the pudding. Estevao.
I'm available for bar mitzvahs and weddings as well.
Just make sure it's on silent for now, because it's going to be ringing off the hook worldwide. Okay, speaking of players coming back from injury, very similar situation at Arsenal, because Eberechi Eze was sensational in that North London derby, which I won't remind you of your predictions. Actually, we've clipped that up. No, I'm kidding. Ibera Eze was amazing, scored that hat-trick, but now there is an opportunity for Martin Odegaard to start. What do you do if you're Mikel
Eze or Eberechi easy? As lots of people been saying. Why would you drop someone who has had such an outstanding impact on the team, on the fan base, on the momentum that Arsenal are trying to generate? Listen, I defer to Glenn because he would be able to tell you far more about why it would be important to have that stability. But I don't see why, even if Odegaard might be the superior player, the senior player, I think, well, exactly.
Superior.
So, but some people would see him as superior. Eze right now, he's the man with the possession, 9/10 of the law.
For me, Eze is everything Arsenal are. I think he is the community of Arsenal on the pitch. I think he encapsulates like the feeling in and around the football club. You can see what it means to him that a fan would play with. I had no doubt after watching him a lot at Crystal Palace that he would step into this Arsenal team and take it by storm. Listen, it's been pretty gradual. It's been slow at times, but that was an announcement last Sunday. And honestly, I think he could leave the football club as an icon.
Wow. This is a big opportunity for them. They've not won the Premier League in many, many years, decades, in fact. They've had moments where they've led the Premier League and they've not been able to see it through. Let's take a look at some of their fixtures that are coming up because, once they play Chelsea, they've played most of the sides in the top half of the table, certainly. And this is confirmation of what's coming up. I mean, mentally, Darren, that's also part of the fight. They've got this big game against Chelsea coming up. They had a big game in midweek. They had a big game on Sunday. But mentally, this is a battle for them as well.
It is, because the feeling a lot of people would have looking at this fixture list is that these are all winnable games. And I think in title races, that's where Arsenal have slipped up in the past. Not necessarily against the biggest teams. It's against the smaller clubs. And I think, for example, Crystal Palace is a potential banana skin. Everton would be in the top 7 on defensive record, for example. They've only conceded 13 goals so far this season. Brighton, as Glenn will tell you, very, very creative, free scoring. Aston Villa, one of the best defensive records in the Premier League, joint third, having conceded only 11 goals so far. These are all tough games.
They've got 8 games in 27 days. That's like a game every 3.5 days. That's a tough ask for any group, especially against the quality they're coming against. There might not be the names that we kind of consider being a difficult game for Arsenal, but I think any Premier League opposition, and this is really where we're going to see how they manage being top of the league, because obviously they've got history of blowing it, but also their squad depth. What we've lauded them for in the summer of like kind of getting better.
Well, this was going to be my question. The main difference between this season and seasons past is that there seems to be cover and quality cover in almost every position, double up sometimes. And that seems to be the difference. I'm thinking about the game in midweek where, for example, Trossard went off, Madueke came on, Madueke switched flanks when Martinelli came on. They both scored then.
Well, Calafiori came on for Miles Skenny and set up the goal for Madueke straight away. And there were 1 or 2 players in that squad that lots of people were quite underwhelmed by when they arrived in the summer. And then suddenly there was that terrific vindication of the policy, the transfer policy, when in the Liverpool game, Saliba wasn't available and Mosquera came and was outstanding. Havertz wasn't available, but Eze was able to play. There are so many options now for Mikel Arteta. There's a different kind of pressure because people are saying now they've got no excuses. But I think they should lean into that pressure because you would rather have it. It's a privilege, right?
Yes, it is, and I honestly think that this is their season. From this point on, I think Saturday's huge. If they get over the line against Chelsea, then that could be massive. I think it sends a message out to the Premier League, and also I look around them, and I wonder who can muster a challenge. They look so strong.
Yeah, last weekend's game saw Arsenal open up a 6-point lead at the top of the table. London rivals Chelsea, though, are now their closest challengers, and Arsenal head to Stamford Bridge on Super Sunday. Alan, it's set to be a huge game. I mean, some people are calling it a game of the season so far, second versus first. But let's look at Chelsea. I mean, Mikel Arteta today was talking about Chelsea, genuine title contenders. Would you agree?
Well, I think they've just, hit like a streak of form where you've got to think that they're in the for a shout of it. I mean, the young boy Esteban is like really captured the imagination of Chelsea fans, and it lifted the place in the absence of Carl Palmer. But he's back this weekend as well, so that arms them. I always, when I look at them and think, are they title contenders, I just worry about the goalkeeper and the centre backs, that kind of cohesion. Where you look at Arsenal, I know they've got an injury at the moment, but that's really been their strength. And if there's any area of the weakness of the team, I would say there. But the rest of the team looks really strong and up for it.
Well, look, we've spoken a bit about Enzo Maresca, but Mikel Arteta is also an admirer of the Chelsea head coach. He said today he loves watching Chelsea play.
Well, I think we are all there, and they are there because they fully deserve what they are, what they have done in the last few years. I think the squad that they assembled, the numbers that they have, the amount of quality, the manager and the coaching staff that they have, it makes sense that what is happening there is very, very positive, and they deserve to be there. It's one of the teams that I enjoy the most watching, and they have a lot of fluidity, they have a lot of threat, they have a lot of individual talent, they are very clear what they want to do, and that's why they are very tough.
Mikel Arteta, I don't know what you think about this part. It's really giving it, a little bit like, a bit of pressure towards Chelsea there. What do you reckon?
Definitely. He's getting it every week. They're at the top of the league, etc., etc. Just palm it out a little bit of that pressure. Yeah. I would suspect that he is looking at them as real contenders now, whereas perhaps at the start of the season he wasn't sure. Like us all, I think we was all quite wondering how Chelsea were going to cope from the World Club Championship. Yeah. The after effects of that, would they hit the ground running? And they've done exceptionally well. So, it would make for a great viewing on Sunday.
Absolutely. And Roberto, this Arsenal side that you're looking at this season, you come from a great win, obviously, against Spurs. You've played Bayern Munich. You've beat them at home as well. What do you think can stop this Arsenal side now?
Oh, at the moment they look unstoppable, don't they? I mean, they've been very consistent over not just this season, but probably the last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and they've just become stronger and stronger. They're very solid now. Their defensive organisation is brilliant, and that's why they've conceded the least goals in the Premier League as well. But they have such an attacking threat as well. So it's very difficult to play against the Arsenal team because they press you very high, they press you very hard. So you don't have much time on the ball. So you have to be able as an opposition to go past the first press. If you manage to do that, then you might have a bit of space because otherwise they just suppress you.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there's a lot of Spurs fans that won't want me to go back to last weekend, but I mean, Eberechi Eze, that hat-trick, it felt like almost a career-defining performance by him, would you say?
Yeah, certainly for his Arsenal career, because, at QPR and at Crystal Palace he's been exceptional. Yeah. And, they won the FA Cup with his goal, so it just goes to show that he was at the levels. But what he done at Arsenal this year is you can see there's a new confidence in him. When you go to a big club and you grow with it sometimes, or you fold with it, and he's grown with it. And the hat-trick was a bit like Rice's 2 goals in the Champions League, a career-defining moment for him and the fan base, because obviously, Arsenal's biggest rivals and the North London derby, to get a hat-trick is,
this is the game you want to score in, isn't it?
Of course, look, and he's such a humble, lovely guy as well. You can tell that he's so loved by not just the fan base, but his fellow players, and he just takes each goal with such aplomb. It's just so natural for him.
Well, the difficulty now, especially after a game like this, is Mikel Arteta now has a fit Martin Odegaard, club captain. Roberto, for you, if you have that decision, sorry, look, I could have asked either of you. In fact, I will ask both of you. You've got Eze, you've got Odegaard. What are you doing ahead of this weekend?
It's a tough decision, but I don't know what it's going to do. Either way, the team looks very well organised, whether the one place or the other place. Now, Eze is obviously, the top of his game, so full of confidence, had a great week. You might consider that he's played 2 games in a short period of time, so might bring in some fresh legs for Sunday, but that's really down to the manager, how he sees them on a daily basis on the training ground, and then make a decision about it.
How much of a headache is that as a manager, Alan, to have a player that is pushing your captain in that position?
Well, most football managers have a lose-lose situation. We lose the centre-back and the other centre-back's not, just as bad as the one that's come out. This is a win-win, you know what I mean? He can't lose, so whoever he puts on the bench is a massive asset to have that coming off the bench. I would suspect that he would keep Eze in the team because my natural reaction would be to play players in form. I mean, obviously, he's so high in his own emotion at the moment of getting a hat-trick that I would start with him.
That's it. As you mentioned, Cole Palmer is fit to start against Arsenal after overcoming a toe injury, albeit a strange one. A key factor in the game will be in midfield, though, where two of the league's best players, Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo, go head-to-head. And Maresca said today he always knew Rice would get to the very top after working with him earlier in his career.
I just heard you asked in your press conference about Rice, Caicedo. And there was a bit of chat during the week, that being a bit of a throwback to the old, I know it's Man United, but the old Keane Vieira battles. Do you see that, Rice, Caicedo, being a big part of what decides Sunday?
Yeah, I see them. Yes, but I see them two fantastic players, two fantastic midfielders. In this moment, and Declan is playing a little bit more in front as attacking midfielder. We use Moy in different way, but both they are top players, fantastic player.
Do you think it's a valid comparison? People will talk Rice v Caicedo, or do you see them being quite different in profile?
No, they are. As I said, Declan is playing like attacking midfielder a little bit in this moment. Mo is playing more defensive midfielder, but both they are very good players. But especially both because I had Declan when I was at West Ham and I was there as assistant coach. So both they are good person, good guy. Humble both, and it's nice to work with them.
Of course, I forgot that with West Ham. So when you saw him as a younger player, when you were at West Ham, what potential did you think he had there?
You can see immediately. It's very easy when you see a profile like Declan to understand that he's going to be a top player.
It was easy, wasn't it? You could see it straight away.
Yeah, you can see. He was playing central defender in that time with second team, and he started to play as a midfielder with Pellegrini at West Ham. But for sure, you can see that he was very good player.
Did you think he'd become, like you said, he played a bit centre back then? I think a lot of people thought he might go into midfield and then end up playing as more of a defender. Did you expect he'd play the kind of advanced role that we see him play now? Did you expect to do that?
It's just evolution from Mikel, from him. I think again, Declan is a fantastic player. He's good defending, he's good offensively, so it's in both phases, he's very good.
I remember it would have been around this time last year, your team were going well, but you said, essentially, we're not ready yet. Are you ready now?
I think we are better than last season, for sure, no doubt, and the reason why is because we spent one more year together. Where we are in this moment, to be honest, I don't know. What I know is that we go in the right direction, and we are competing every game against any team.
Well, as you can also see, we've been joined by a Chelsea legend, both as a player and manager, Roberto Di Matteo. Roberto, thank you so much for joining us. I've got to say, Alan called this because I know you had a little bit of traffic issues, and Alan was like, "Don't worry, he's going to be here. He's going to be here." And
you're still fine, though, bro. You're still fine.
Yeah, still fine.
I know.
Roberto, I'll start. We just saw Enzo Maresca there talking, all things Chelsea, that bit about Declan Rice as well. But with Maresca, do you feel like Chelsea are under or overachieving?
I think they're just right at where they have to be in this time of the year. I mean, last season, Champions League qualification was an objective or a target. They achieved that, won 2 trophies, was great. It's always nice to put a few trophies in the cabinet.
Yeah, of course.
And then this season, they're up there in the league. They are in a very good position in the Champions League, performing at a high level as well. There's just a little bit of still inconsistency there, maybe in 1 or 2 games, but all in all, I think they are doing very, very well.
It's a weird one because, you mentioned there's inconsistencies every now and again, but sometimes it feels like the fans haven't fully embraced him yet. Do you know what I mean, Alan?
Well, the one thing I would say is that he's been really solid with the players. There's not really any kind of noises coming out of there, and the ball, more importantly for him.
Yeah.
That, you know, he seems to be juggling a lot of things there because the squad is huge, a lot of young players. He's done exceptionally well, in my opinion, and you know, the team is gelling nicely. The performance in the week was terrific, and they'll take that into Arsenal.
And Cole Palmer's obviously been out. He's only had 2 Premier League starts. Is it a case of get him in as quickly as possible, do you reckon, Roberto?
I wouldn't expect him to start on Sunday because he's been out for a while now, and also the team has been performing extremely well. So it'd be a surprise if he's on the starting lineup. But he's a player that he can unlock a game. He's a player that has done some marvelous stuff for the club, and it's good news that, you know, now end of November he's available again, because now then the Christmas period is coming out with many games, so you know you need all your players available if possible.
Yeah, Alan, what would you say? I mean, you know, he's been out. Obviously, Chelsea have been on this good run of form. Like, you know, they're second in the table, as we say, playing well in the Champions League. All of a sudden, Cole Palmer becomes available. Physio saying to you, he's fit to start. What are you doing?
He goes on the bench. I mean, Roberto, I tell you, you know, the one thing that, you know, you're under pressure on as a manager is to play too early and he gets an injury, you know, play him full 90 minutes at that level. So to introduce him, particularly on the back of a winning team, is like the perfect scenario. So if the game's not going so well with 20 minutes to go, it will lift the stadium, you know, and lift the team, because obviously he's an exceptional talent.
Well, there was one talent you were talking about as well, Esteval.
Wow.
And I think you're right. I think it's that thing with a player like that really just lifts not just the players around him, but the crowd.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a commentary there, and Esteval, I've never heard, and Roberto probably backed this up, I've not heard the excitement from Chelsea fans for a long time. Maybe going back to even Ian Hazard when he first arrived, the level that he produces. He come on against Wolves and changed the game. He's got exceptional talent and so quick over that sort of first 2-3 yards that he's almost impossible to defend. So outside or inside, whichever way he's going to go, it's very difficult to stop him. You know, he has a confidence about him. He's starting for Brazil at such an early age. It's just a terrific prospect.
He's become Brazil's penalty taker as well. He's 18 years old. Like, I mean, Roberto, have you been surprised? I mean, seeing someone, you know, come from Palmeiras, you know, straight from the Brazilian league into, you know, a title contending Chelsea side, and he's adapting so well to the Prem.
Yes, I was surprised. I mean, it amazes me how mature he is for his age. You know, I watched him in the summer in the FIFA Club World Cup when he played there for Palmeiras. But to expect him to come to England, a new country, new language, new environment, and then start off so well, that did surprise me a little bit. But you know, you meet him, and he's a really humble guy, and he's got a great family behind him, around him. So he's very settled in here in London or in Cobham, and so and he's an exciting player. I mean, when I first watched him in the States, you know, I was like, wow, this is special talent. And he's slowly developing, because let's not forget, he's still very, very young.
Yeah.
But he has so many skills and attributes, and he's only going to get better as well. So he's going to be a top player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a manager, right, this may seem like a silly question, but if the game's a little bit dull, you are looking for that injection. Are you thinking about a player that the crowd all of a sudden are going, we've all been waiting to see him?
Well, of course, you always got that in the back of your mind, a sort of armoury as a manager, to kind of have a player that can lift the stadium. I mean, I had a talent at Newcastle in Ben Arthur who had that same, the excitement around him was like perhaps above his ability even.
Yeah.
But it just is, and it just creates such a presence when he enters the field, etc., etc. But Palmer is a player that also carries that. So Chelsea are lucky; they got 2 really outstanding players, young players, who can lift a stadium, whether they're on the pitch or coming in later. It's a great asset.
Arsenal versus Chelsea is always a fierce Premier League showdown, and the winner this weekend will be determined by several key factors that go far beyond simple form tables. The first and most important factor is midfield control. Whichever team dominates possession, wins second balls, and transitions faster between defense and attack will control the tempo of the game. A strong midfield often decides big matches like this. Another major factor is set pieces. Arsenal have been one of the strongest set-piece sides in the league, scoring frequently from corners and free kicks. Chelsea, on the other hand, have had moments of vulnerability defending dead ball situations. one well-executed corner could be the difference. Home advantage will also play a role. Playing at home provides confidence, crowd support, and familiarity with the pitch, giving Chelsea a psychological edge. Meanwhile, tactics and team selection from both managers will shape how the game unfolds. A slight change in formation or a key substitute can shift momentum instantly. Finally, football often comes down to small margins: a defensive mistake, a missed chance, or a moment of brilliance. In a tight derby like this, those tiny details could decide everything.